love making gajinkas. It's basically the act of turning something non-human into a humanoid character. I've seen it done with animals, plants, internet browsers. I even did a video where I made a bunch of Pokemon gajinkas last month. The idea of taking the important aspects of an animal or object or concept and scrunching it down into a human shape is a really fun character design exercise, and something I've loved since I was a little kid first getting into drawing. I also love sharks! I grew up watching a ton of Animal Planet and Discovery Channel, and I've always had an affection for sea creatures especially. To this day, I still sometimes fall asleep to random deep-sea documentaries. So what happens when we take these two interests and squish them together? You've seen the title of the video, we're turning sharks into humans. Cute girl specifically because it's my video and I do what I want. Now, for some additional context, I've actually done this before. About 5 years ago, I designed a group of characters based on different species of sharks and sold merch of them. I really enjoyed doing them, but some aspects I wasn't super proud of, and I've been itching to revamp them with some new art for a long time. There were 9 characters in that original set, but for this video, we're just gonna focus on 6, with the potential to come back for the rest in a future video. But that all depends on how this one performs, so like and subscribe if you want to see more. Also, as of yet, none of these characters have names, so feel free to leave suggestions down in the comments. If I do a second video, I'll say what names I decided on for each of them. Anyway, let's draw sharks as cute girls. Since we're drawing sharks, I feel like it only makes sense to start with what is probably the best known species, the great white shark. Great whites are huge, with some reported as being up to 6 meters in length. They're very rotund and muscular and are famous for their ability to jump out of the water in slow motion. Their body coloration is pretty interesting. They have dark gray on the top and white on their stomachs, which is called countershading. It theoretically helps camouflage them when viewed from above or below by blending in with the colors of the seafloor and the surface, respectively. And they're pretty widespread. Great white sharks can be found basically anywhere and are known to migrate extremely long distances to find food or mate. These migrations are actually one of the reasons great whites can't be kept in captivity. They're so used to traveling over huge distances that keeping them in an aquarium is basically a death sentence. Now, I think most sharks suffer from this, but great white sharks especially have a reputation as being these vicious man-eaters that'll rip you limb from limb if you so much as think about stepping in the water. This was largely spurred on by movies like Jaws portraying them so, but this is largely inaccurate. We've been out here slandering sharks for years. Peter Benchley, the writer of the original Jaws book, has even come out and said that he regrets writing the book because of how much damage it did to sharks' reputations. Sharks can be dangerous, yes, but most bites on humans are theorized to be because the shark mistook the victim for something else or just curiosity. Sharks don't have hands, and like most animals, use their mouths to explore things. Sharks just happen to have really big mouths with really big teeth. And while I think it's natural to be afraid of something with the potential to do you a lot of harm, I think it's important to realize that at the end of the day, they're just animals. They're not bloodthirsty killers who'll go out of the way to kill for pleasure. Sharks are friends, they're neat. Stop the sharkaganda. Went off on a bit of a tangent there. Anyway, back to shark girls. In the original design for my great white shark girl, I made her very rough and tumble, like a cool butch biker girl. She's got big muscles along with several scars and tattoos, including one that's a scuba tank as a cheeky little Jaws reference. Her hair is white and she's got a bandana kind of hinting at the shape of a shark's dorsal fin. She's got ripped up clothes, a fishhook earring, and a big old chain around her waist because it looked cool, I guess. With all of these redraws, I decided to do a more squished down chibi style, mostly because I thought it would be fun to draw, but it also meant I needed to slim down on the details somewhat. While I kept the muscles from her original version, I also made her fatter and rounded out her stomach a bit more since great white sharks have pretty round bodies. I wanted her to be muscular, but not in a really dehydrated bodybuilder way, more like a wrestles bears in the woods kind of way. Instead of making her hair all white, I gave her dark gray hair with a white streak to mimic the counter shading on a real shark. I did something similar with her outfit where her jacket and pants are bluish gray but with a white shirt underneath to mimic the same pattern. I removed the chain and instead gave her a belt with shark jaws as the buckle cause it looks sick. We kept the bandana pretty much the same and made her fingerless gloves more ripped to match the rest of her vibe. I specifically wanted to give her gloves to mimic the black spots on the shark's fins. She still has tattoos, but I simplified the oxygen tank one down to just being an anchor since I figured it was less visually messy, gave her some scars, and added a backpack and some hiking boots to reference how they tend to migrate. All that said, here's Great White Shark Girl version 2. Following right behind great white sharks, the second largest predatory shark is none other than the tiger shark, a shark with a sick name and sicker stripes. Tiger sharks are coastal sharks that stick mainly to warm waters, and they're known to eat basically anything it can fit in its mouth. Fish, stingrays, turtles, marine animals like seals, birds, crabs, other sharks, jellyfish, and even random garbage. I've heard stories of tiger sharks being found with random car parts in their stomach. These guys are no joke. The stripes on a tiger shark are believed to be for camouflage, as they somewhat resemble the appearance of sunlight refracting off the water's surface. These stripes are also much brighter in younger sharks, but tend to fade as the shark gets older. Now, tiger sharks are not related to actual tigers in any way. The name is just a nod to them both having stripes. But I think that making the tiger shark girl look like an actual tiger is fun, so I'm doing that. We're not trying to be 100% lore accurate here. We are going for fun and whimsy. In the original design, I gave her orange hair with sections of white underneath and brown stripes to mimic a tiger's patterning. I also gave her tiger ears, but if you look closely, they aren't her actual ears. She's just wearing a cat ear headband, like a poser! I gave her a brown leather jacket with a fur collar to add a bit more fluff to the design, as well as a license plate necklace because tiger sharks eat them. And as for the rest of her outfit, I just tried to lean into what someone who desperately wants to seem cool would wear. Bright colored shirt and ripped up shorts with boots. Since tigers are the second largest predatory shark species, I imagine that our tiger shark girl looks up to our great white shark and tries to imitate her somewhat, because I think it's cute. For the redesign, I didn't change too much. I simplified the stripes in her hair to make them less noisy, and made a clearer delineation between the orange and white hair to more closely mimic a tiger's facial coloring. I also made the fur on the jacket pointier instead of rounded, gave her sharp nails like tiger claws, and changed her license plate necklace into a belt buckle to draw some of the attention to other parts of the outfit and not just her face. And that's a wrap on Tiger Shark. Hehe. Now, right behind the first two, I think the next most iconic shark species is none other than the whale shark. In contrast to the intimidating features and bad reputation of great whites and tiger sharks, whale sharks are gentle giants. They're the largest fish in today's oceans, growing up to 15 meters in length, but despite their large size, they're actually filter feeders, eating things like krill, plankton, and small schooling fish like anchovies. They're very docile and chill, to the point where diving with them is pretty popular in many places around the world, and I want to do this so bad. I want to see the sharkies, I want to swim next to them, oh, I love them! I've also been to several aquariums that feature whale sharks, and I could watch them swim around for hours. They are so cool. They're also pretty well known for their appearance. They have these very flat, rectangular heads, and their bodies are covered in rows of white spots. They're very cute, and I like them. In my original design, I wanted my whale shark girl to be very soft and sweet looking. I gave her a cute white and blue dress with spots mimicking the shark spots, a little white cardigan, bows and round jewelry, and a little whale shark shaped purse just to finish off the look. While I think she's cute, there were some changes I wanted to make for my redesign, so let's get into those. Rather than the fluffy bob I gave her in the original design, I instead opted to give her long hair with blunt cut bangs to mimic the shark's rectangular head shape. I also changed her hair bow to a little headband ribbon to give it more of a fin shape, similar to the bandana on Great White Shark Girl. I nixed the cardigan and instead gave her a nice blouse with a patterned skirt, and opted to make the pattern more like geometric polka dots to be a more subtle nod to the shark spots rather than a one-to-one imitation. I kept the round jewelry, gave her flats instead of sandals, and added some little freckles to finish off the look. The designs have a lot in common, but they're still fairly distinct from each other. Character design, baby! Here's Whale Shark. Side note, she and Tiger Shark are girlfriends. That is all. While we're on the subject of gentle sharks, let's segue into another one and talk about nurse sharks. If you've been to an aquarium before, you've almost definitely seen these guys. They're smaller, averaging about 2 to 3 meters, and like to hang out on the seafloor, eating things like crabs, mollusks, and sea urchins. They have teeth, but they're pretty small, and their mouths are pretty tiny too. Look at the little kitty mouth, oh. While there have been recorded attacks on humans, none have been fatal, and most of them were because divers or fishermen were being obnoxious. I can't blame you, nurse sharks, I also bite people who annoy me. So let's get into designing her. Something I want to mention right off the bat is that if you haven't picked up on it already, my goal was to give each Shark Girl character her own signature color. Most sharks vary between gray, brown, and white in real life, but I didn't want all my Gajinkas to look too samey and boring. Great White Shark is gray, Tiger Shark is orange, Whale Shark is blue, and Nurse Shark, as an homage to Nurse Joy and other nurses in anime, is pink. Ultimately, there's not a lot to say here about these designs, though. In the original, I gave her a nurse dress and apron with a matching little nurse hat. The cross is pink so that this design is not considered a war crime. I added some little white pinstripes to the dress to give it a little texture, heart buttons on the apron, and barrettes with a shark tooth motif. For the redesign, though, we didn't change much. The colors and outfit are basically the same, but I took off the pinstripes to cut down on visual noise and changed the shape of the hat to be a little less rectangular. The biggest change was her hairstyle. Originally she had a pretty boring bob, but for the redesign I gave her longer strands in front to mimic the little whiskers that nurse sharks have. All that said, here's our nurse shark. She's got little teeth for little love bites. For our penultimate shark of this video, let's take a little bit of a wide swing in a completely different direction and talk about a very strange but interesting shark species, Greenland sharks. These guys are weird and I like them. Greenland sharks are a larger species of sharks, growing to around 5 meters long as adults. They're known for living in very cold and deep waters around Greenland and other areas of the North Atlantic. Because their environments are so harsh, they're hard to study, but one thing we do know about them is that these guys live a long time, some up to 500 years old. And additionally, while these guys are sometimes eaten for their meat, it should be known that their meat is toxic unless properly treated because it has high concentrations of urea. Like urine. Which has earned this guy the not really accurate but still kind of funny nickname, Piss Shark. I don't know how widespread that is, I just saw it once and thought it's funny. I love you, Piss Shark. Now, I actually really enjoy the original design for my Greenland shark girl, so not a lot changed here. I tried to give her a warm outfit like the one might wear in Arctic regions with a thick puffer jacket and warm pants plus snow boots. I also put a little Greenland flag patch on the jacket for obvious reasons. She is also blind. Because these sharks swim super slowly, they're prone to catching parasites, including one in particular that preys on their eyes. Lots of photos of Greenland sharks show them with these weird white dangly things on their eyeballs, and that's what that is. The parasite feeds on their eyes and over time causes the shark to go blind. So obviously I had to make a reference to that in my shark girl design, so she uses a cane and has glasses that obscure her eyes. I don't think real blind people have evil anime scientist shiny glasses, but I wanted to make her look unhinged and weird more than sticking to pure realism. For the redesign, not a whole lot changed. I made her hair a little longer and grubbier. I thought about giving her gray hair to show that she's older than the rest, but it broke my heart taking the green hair away. So instead, let's just imagine that maybe her hair is gray. She just hasn't washed it in a while and it's kind of gross. And that beanie probably wasn't green when she bought it either. I don't know, I like the idea of her being this weird undersea hobo who's hermited away in the deep cold sea, doesn't get a lot of social contact, and is a little bit of a freak as a result. She's fun. Most of the rest of the design stayed pretty much the same though. Again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Anyway, here's Greenland Shark. It's time for our final shark design of this video, and of all the original designs, this one was my least favorite. In fact, I was so dissatisfied with it that it's the entire reason behind this video. So let's talk about hammerhead sharks. Hammerhead sharks are known for their, well, hammer-shaped head. There are several species of hammerheads that vary in size and shape, with the smallest being the bonnet head that maxes out at about 5 feet long, and the largest being the great hammerhead with an average length of about 4 meters. Now, hammerheads look pretty funky, but their head shape has a purpose. Studies show that their eyes being positioned on the end of their heads gives them a really wide field of vision, and the hammer is covered in special pores that help them pick up on electrical signals giving off by prey's movements. Most sharks have these, but in hammerheads, the larger surface area means more of them, which means stronger detection abilities. Of all the original designs, I felt like this one was the least successful. Because of the hammer in the name, I thought of going in a carpenter direction, but then I did basically the same thing with Saw Shark. I also think that if you took her hammer away, it wouldn't be obvious what shark she's supposed to be representing. I didn't like the color scheme, I felt like she was boring, and I wanted to scrap the whole thing and start over, so I did. I went in an entirely new direction for the redesign. Since hammerheads are known for their really keen electrical senses, I thought going in a more scientist direction would be fun. I swapped her main color from brown to a bright acidic green, and took some visual cues from both Peridot from Steven Universe and, this guy from Pokemon. I tried to really sell the wide rectangle shape in her design, including giving her these wide, blunt-cut ponytails to make her head really fit the hammerhead shape, plus a little swoopy antenna thing once again to look like a dorsal fin. I also gave her a big sciencey visor with headphones on the side that look a bit like eyes. Her clothes are somewhere between a lab coat and a quirky sci-fi space explorer outfit, and she once again has a big ol' hammer that doubles as some kind of scientific instrument. What she's studying? Who frickin' knows? Anyway, here's our fully refreshed hammerhead shark. And with that, here's all our shark girls for this video. Like I said, I have 3 more designs from the original set waiting for a redesign and several more shark species I'd like to take a stab at, so if you're itching for a second video, let me know in the comments and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. If you'd like to support the channel, you can check out my Patreon for early videos, your name in the credits, and even shoutouts like these ones! Special thank you to my lovely shoutout tier patrons, Holly, Mr. Don Matsu, Alyssa Herzog, Neon Valkyrie, and Sammy Katz. Thank you for enabling me to yap about sharks for several minutes. Anyway, that'll be it for this one. Fare thee well, friends, and I will see y'all next time. Bye!